Hey, Suzanne.
Hi, how are you? I just
Good.
emailed you. I just
I
saw this.
have your email, and
Thank
I
you.
actually was gonna probably give you a call
Oh, that would be great.
to talk through it. Yeah, that'd be good.
Thank
But
you.
any questions you have right now would be, we can definitely try to address them. This is a great connector.
Okay, I'm actually more in the very beginning of it than we've been kind of busy here, and we've had about three on staff. So I haven't had a lot of time to look into it. But I do see all the libraries joining, and I certainly want us to have the full benefit of everything.
And you guys are configured already, so you're basically you're close. Um,
And I don't want to take up other time from other people, so I don't know, but I'll ask, what is entailed with getting hooked up fully?
well, I'll pass it along to Tara and Carissa, but there's basically a production checklist that you have to go through, and it's just kind of questions that have to be answered to bring you to the next step and make sure all your collections are integrated. But it's
Okay,
not a terribly complicated process.
all right, thank you. Very good.
What library are you with, Suzanne?
I'm Seymour Public Library.
Look. Just looking up your specifics. Oh, part of Bibliomation.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so as Brad mentioned, we have most of the details of your library already configured. We would need, I'll have to double check to make sure we don't have this, but I'm assuming we don't have your library logo and the email address you'd like to use for patron support inquiries.
Okay,
Those are really the only two pieces of information that we typically have missing from Bibliomation libraries.
Yep.
The contacts at the consortia had given us all of the other information. And then we can give you access to the administrative backend so you can see, make sure everything looks correct. We are right now, Lyrasis, so we're the hosted provider that works with Brad in the state of Connecticut, are in the process of upgrading the mobile app itself. So we are putting a pause on moving libraries into production right now until we have the new version of the app ready, but we can get you ready to go here in the interim time.
that would be great. And when do you anticipate that the new app would be ready?
It's a moving target that I hear from our development team. I've heard as early as June, and likely it's probably going to be more like the fall timeframe.
Okay, great.
But as soon as we have a more firm timeline, we can share that with all of the libraries.
Thank you.
And I think what's nice about, even if there is a little bit of delay in you actually going live, there's an opportunity for you and your staff to interact with the app and test it and kind of see how it functions.
I think that would
Because
be
I think
great.
one of the challenges that sometimes we face is, once we offer it out to our patrons, then they call and they want help with it. So the more experience and time that you have to interact with it, I think the better off you'll be. And there's a back end to it as well. Um, the Circ manager that staff can become familiar with, and it's really good to know that as well when you're trying to help your patrons and move it forward. So those are two things that in the interim you can definitely focus on and get your staff on board.
Yes, we definitely will. I mean, it's really helped with Overdrive, and we all had RB Digital down, and now that's not an option as much. So thank you.
Yeah, and the state has quite a bit of content that we provide, obviously for free. And our partnership with DPLA provides access to an additional, the open bookshelf, which is, I think it's up to 10,500 items that are made available there. The state itself, we're probably around 20,000 or so items that we make available, both e-book and e-audio. And we're really trying to pursue different licensing formats. Right now, I'm looking at ordering some more perpetual ownership and simultaneous use items,
Oh, that's
which
great.
means, multiple people, book groups, in a classroom setting. It becomes really helpful that everybody can check out the same book at the same time. So, that's one of the nice things about our partnership with both Lyrasis and DPLA is that we gain access to these licensing models that are really beneficial to you as a public library.
Thank you. we do appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions we can help you with?
No, I'm gonna wait. I'll get the email and then I'll send the logo and our email along, and then we'll look forward to whatever we can learn in the meantime. And but I thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. And then
Yeah, no
take
problem.
the thank you. Then I'm going to pop out because we have a lunch that needs to be filled. And thank you guys very much. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Take
Yep.
care.
Take care,
Nice to
Suzanne.
meet you, Suzanne.
Bye.
Nice to meet you. Take care.
And then we have Katie from Bethel Public Library is here too. Hi, Katie. Hi. So she's chatting, no audio. Okay, that's fine. Do you have questions that we can help you with? If so, just go ahead and you can chat them and then we can address them. But
And it looks
yeah,
like they're
you're-
live in the app. So this is a library that's in production.
Assuming it's a Bethel Public in Connecticut, not in New Jersey.
Yeah, I assume exactly. That's a good point.
Katie, we sent some chats back to you, so or Brad just sent a chat back, and hopefully you can hear us. And maybe you're typing right now too. So, okay, cool. Bethel, Connecticut, wondering about some collections and whether they will become available through Simply E over time, comics, magazines, video, etc.
Well, I think, can you hear us, Katie? I'm assuming you can.
I'm assuming she can because she wrote.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so currently we don't offer any magazines. There are graphic novels that are contained in our collections that we provide. Video is not currently compatible, and I don't know if that's something in the future. But I do. The beauty of Simply E and the platform itself is that it is open source and there's ability to develop different features over time. So as we get more and more feedback from Connecticut libraries, we can start to make requests that different features be integrated and applied to the app.
Yeah, there's definitely a roadmap, I think, with keeping track of those kinds of things. And I just sighed because that's something that so many people ask, and it's not something that we have the capabilities to do right now, but it is something that, we can, if enough people request it, we could definitely add. But I think there's also, that distinction. We've made that distinction before about the idea of having a Kindle Paperwhite, for example, just for your books, and then the Kindle Entertainment Center sort of thing. And up until now, or the Kindle Fire, and up until now, it's been really focusing on books and audiobooks and having that kind of immersive experience for people who maybe are a little bit less able to check out books and other devices and things like that. So for right now, that has been the focus. I don't know, Carissa or Tara, if you guys want to address it at all either. Yeah, wondering because RB Digital moving to Overdrive. Yeah, didn't know if we would eventually offer the full Overdrive catalog in Simply. It's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think as you noted, Heather, it's not on the immediate roadmap, but it is something that we've heard. The RB Digital catalog in particular, and then of course Hoopla always comes in the conversation as well, and of course the magazines and the additional content that RB Digital had, and of course Hoopla's expansive catalog has just been kind of outside the scope of the original kind of historical project of Simply E. But Lyrasis right now is working on new versions of the mobile app and is actually hiring more development resources to really invest in this project. So although we're just at the beginning stages of that, but I'm optimistic that over time, within the next year, we'll have a more robust roadmap and we'll be able to point to particular upgrades like this, either content support or different vendor support than we have been able to in the past. So nothing concrete today, but I'm hopeful that within the next year, we'll certainly be able to point to some of these as on our development roadmap for inclusion into the mobile app.
And maybe just another little update about RB Digital and the fact that the state did have an RB Digital collection. And what we've chosen to do is to work with DPLA to have the content that we had with RB Digital migrated over for hosting by DPLA. And that's in progress, and we're basically in conversations, and we're trying to begin the process of moving that content. But that will be an additional roughly 4,000 items that will be added into the platform. And again, it's books and ebooks and e-audio, but not your movies and magazines and so on. But anyway, just an update about that in terms of, we did make a decision to work with DPLA to migrate that content. And I think that's probably for our long-term future, a great way to go. We'll pass along different updates about that as the content starts to become available.
Fairly new to Simply E. Been working on learning, adding lanes and doing statistics and whatnot. Good. Hopefully you have all the materials that you need for that. We made some, we call them pocket lessons on how to add the lanes. And also Tara made a beautiful flyer or one sheet on the statistics and everything like that. So let us know if you need any more support with that, or if there's anything else we can do to help you as you're learning. There you go.
Oh, Brad just
Yeah,
put
and
it in.
those sheets that that Heather just referenced are located on the Ego website, and I put the link in the chat there for you.
The other resource that's available to you, Katie, if you are not already a member, is our community hub that Heather manages. And so additionally to the link that Brad provided, we have essentially a social network that has those same documents as well as links off to the videos that Heather mentioned. So training resources, but also the community hub also has a lot of documents to help in terms of launching the app to your patrons. Press releases and Instagram posts and monthly. Yes, go ahead, Heather.
Oh no, newsletter, text, and it's all searchable. So I was actually just looking to see if you were in there already, and I couldn't tell right away, but hopefully you're in there. And I put the chat up, or in the chat, the link to join as well if you would like to pop in there. So definitely. Okay, so for statistics, do you see there being a breakdown of formats in the future? How many ebook checkouts versus audiobooks, etc.?
There is a whole, to be entirely honest with you, there's a whole host of work that needs to be done in the statistics area of the current system. So yes, a breakout for format, a breakout for vendor as well. We acknowledge that the statistics that are available in the download right now are pretty bare bones and minimal. So that is something that we're definitely looking into expanding. And ideally, the ultimate goal is to have a configurable dashboard in the administrative backend where you download the stats right now into a standalone spreadsheet with numbers, which of course you'll always have the ability to do, but we'd also like to include different dashboards so you can see pie charts and bar charts and line graphs of the same data represented in kind of a quick and easy to skim way in the back end. So yes, not easily available to pull out now, but something, yes, we're definitely looking to expand and flesh out as we move forward.
So hopefully that's helpful to you, Katie. Let us know if there's other questions that we can help with. Great. I think those were the only questions I had. Mostly jumped on to see if other libraries had questions about things I had yet to even encounter. Yeah. It's just you right now, but some other people might hop on later, and if we'll go ahead, or we are recording, so we will post this, and I always post it in the social hub that I sent you the link to there. So if anything else comes up when you aren't here, I'll be sure to note that, and we'll see. But yep, for right now, it's just you in these places. Look, there's another person. Hi, Lisa.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thanks.
What library? Let's see. Oh, I see. There it is down the bottom.
Romantic, yeah.
Romantic.
Yes.
Yes. I had a question.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
So I was curious about Google Analytics, with Simply E. I set up the account. I got those instructions from Carissa. I just wasn't sure from here what the best way would be to get it to actually work and get reports.
It's a great question. The integration with Google Analytics is confusing in terms of how it works. Actually, let me pull up an example and share my screen. One moment while I get everything set. So the interesting thing about the way that this platform works, the circulation manager, that admin backend system, is essentially a hub and is recording activity from everything that we integrate with it. So not only is it tracking Simply E checkouts and holds and loans and open book activity, the system is also tracking that same activity from the other vendors. So if you have patrons checking things out from Libby or from Baker and Taylor's app or from the Overdrive web interface or the Baker and Taylor web interface, all of those events are essentially being slurped up by the circulation manager. So what you'll see in Google Analytics, usually the first response I get from libraries when they see their Google Analytics is like, that can't be right. I don't have 100,000 patrons. And it's like, that's true. You don't probably, but it's the way that the integration works is that Google Analytics is parsing through every single what's called an event. And there are categories of events that we can then parse even in more detail. So you can see, if you wanted to, your Overdrive checkouts compared to your Simply E checkouts. But I know for the most part, folks aren't really interested in the vendor data that's being captured because the vendors already capture it in their own systems. So that's kind of duplicative, essentially. Let me, one moment here, let me get my screen.
So I know the circulation events that I can, download the CSV in our dashboard. I know how to sort that to get the checkout data and stuff. But what I was looking for is that one doesn't have the format, whether it's ebook or audiobook. And I know, and I saw in a list somewhere that was an option. So I was hoping to maybe set a report up or something in Google Analytics where we could get the information that's already in those circ events, but add the format.
So let me do this. Let me share my screen and hopefully you all can see this. I've got a lot of Zoom windows here. So this is a library in the state of Washington. So I won't even use the Connecticut library. And so when you log in to Google Analytics and you're on, if you click in the top left, this is kind of the home view. Yep. And so the data that you are going to be interested in is kind of buried in the interface. So it's down in behavior,
okay,
in events. So all of the other real-time audience acquisition, all of those areas, you can totally disregard because they're slicing the data with an assumption that's coming from a website, and just the views are absolutely incorrect.
Right. Or says zero.
Yeah, or zero. So for your library, where you want to go is behavior, events, and then overview. So this is where the kind of dump of all of the data that's being captured from the Circ Manager kind of comes into the Google Analytics interface. For this library in Washington, I have the date range set from January 1 to April 20th, and you can see it's a relatively small library. They only have one licensed collection and then 2 open collections, but they've had 1.2 million events, which sounds mind-boggling. But so bear with me. This is, again, very buried in the interface. And the one other caveat I'll add is that Google Analytics right now is just a stopgap measure for us to capture and present data. That Lyrasis is really working to, number one, move away from Google just for security concerns overall, and also to embed it into that circulation manager interface, both visualizations as well as more informed downloads of the data for you. So that is a high priority item on our list. So anyway, caveat aside, in the interim, Google Analytics is what we have. So once I click on events overview, if you click on circulation, that's just the one category of data that's being dumped into the Google Analytics interface. It's going to load and think about it as it parses through these 1.2 million events. And the joys of doing a live demo. Hopefully it'll actually, there we go. So then buried in this circulation event category area is a drop down called secondary dimension. And so, as I mentioned, the circulation manager is kind of slurping up all of this data. It's tagging it as a circulation event, and then it dumps it into Google Analytics. And we assigned essentially a key to Google to parse what that data is coming in by these tags that are called dimensions. So you have a couple different dimensions at your disposal based on the activity that's coming in. And one of them is, where did I miss it? Well, let's hold on one second while I find it. I thought medium, I'm pretty sure. I was looking for format, but I think it's called medium. So if I parse this by all of those circulation events by medium, you'll be able to see what has circulated, book versus audio. And this is like the total circulation.
Right.
All of the events. So let me go back, sorry, one moment. I'm gonna make you all a little seasick here when I go back to the overview. So that's all of the events. What we want to do actually, I'm sure, is you don't want book events that circulated from Libby or from Baker and Taylor. You want just what's coming from Simply E.
Right. And just basically the stuff that was checked out.
Yes. Okay. So in that case, we have to do a kind of an interim step, and I'm going to click around here because I have not memorized this. So bear with me while I remember what the steps are. All right. So if you click on event action, after you click on the overview and you see the circulation, there's an additional parsing that happens from all of those events that are coming in.
Okay.
And this allows you to see the volume of events that are being tracked, that are being sourced from the distributor, whatever that happens to be, whether it's Overdrive or Baker and Taylor or Biblioteca, etc. So distributor check-in is just all of the check-ins from the distributor itself. What we want are any of the event actions that are prefaced with Circulation Manager. That means it's coming directly from Simply E, the mobile app. So let's look, for this library, there were 21 checkouts from the Circulation Manager. So it's 21 checkouts from Simply E. So if you click on that bit of data and then click on your secondary dimension. So what did I do here? I went to medium. Gosh, it's going to keep throwing me because I keep looking for format in the apps. You can see for this library between January and April, and they just launched, I think they're just doing staff testing actually. There have been 22 books and 5 audiobooks that have been checked out in Simply for their library.
Okay.
If I go back here again, the other thing that we can parse, does the back button even work? Let me just walk through the other things that you can parse here. A few different, well, sorry, let me take a step back and get all of the rows here. So to explain the things that you probably care about from Simply E. So open book is how many times a book has been opened in Simply E, and you would always hope that that's more than the number of checkouts, unless
Yes.
all of your patrons read the title from back to front. Fulfill means that the title was downloaded onto a device. And so that usually is greater than the checkout as well, because I assume some patrons have multiple devices that they might be reading on. So that's the difference with the fulfill. Checkout and check-in, of course, are pretty straightforward. If you have a totally new patron logging into the mobile app, that's recorded here in new patron. So this library had 8 new patrons who had never logged in before. And then, of course, there's holds being placed and holds being released.
So I have a question with the
Yeah.
Circ Manager ones. Is that only the Simply E stuff? Like if I did, checkouts, or would that include the stuff from Overdrive and stuff?
The items here that are prefaced with Circulation Manager are only from Simply E.
Okay.
The distributor items, for instance, are the things coming from Simply E and the things coming directly from Libby and the Overdrive interface. So ideally, these events that are tagged distributor or prefaced with distributor are all inclusive of all of the activity on those items for your libraries. For Connecticut libraries, it is also a bit misleading in that you have a lot of the state collections that are
Mhm.
also having data recorded in your analytics interface. So the shared DPLA Exchange collection, for instance, from the state library. Right now, the way that the data is sent to Google Analytics, Google isn't smart enough to parse out your library's usage of that DPLA Exchange collection from the Connecticut library down the road from you, because it's shared across all of them. So
Okay.
the kind of the distributor check-ins, or if you're in a shared Overdrive collection as part of your consortia, it's not smart enough to parse out for those shared collections your activity. So my advice is always to go back to, of course, the Overdrive or the Baker and Taylor admin interfaces to see those checkouts for certain, and then the details for Simply E will be down here in the things that are prefaced with Circ Manager.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a lot. The other dimensions that I just quickly wanted to talk through here, in addition to the format, you can also parse out by the distributor, so where the titles are coming from. You can look at titles and authors, genres. You can look at, if you have a lot of different language items that are circulating, you can parse it out by language. If you want to just see the open access materials, so just the open bookshelf content from DPLA. If you're interested in the publisher details, for instance, all of those are available to you here. So if I click on distributor, for instance, in the Circ Manager checkouts, you can see obviously the majority for this collection are coming from Overdrive. 2 items have been checked out from BiblioBoard. And then these distributors, the University of Adelaide and Ungluit, are actually distributors that are part of that DPLA Open Bookshelf for the free collection.
Okay.
So hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah, it was. I get how to do it now. I just wonder if maybe I set something up wrong when I set it up, because I'm getting 0 events from January to April. I know we've had events. I've checked out books in it since then. So
Okay.
I'm just wondering if maybe I missed a step or something when I set it up.
Yeah, the setup on your end is, and another reason why we're moving away from this, is really complicated, as you know. And Katie, I saw your message. I can send you the instructions. Again, this is kind of a temporary stopgap measure. If you would like to, Lisa, send a screenshot of, and actually let me show you. Let me go back to sharing my screen just really quickly. If you wouldn't mind sending me a screenshot. So if you click in the bottom left-hand corner and click on admin, and send me a screenshot of 2 different windows. I've got to remember where it is over here. The view settings all the way in the rightmost column.
Yep.
Send me a screenshot of what you've selected here. And then a screenshot of, in the center column, the custom dimensions, custom definitions, custom dimensions screen. Those are the 2 areas that have to be adjusted in order for the data to work. So if you could send me the screenshots for those 2, I'll just make sure it looks right.
I'm sorry, what was the second one? I was grabbing the first one.
Yeah, no worries. In the center column, down towards the bottom, there's the thing called custom definitions. And then there's a little hidden drop down, custom dimensions. Gosh, I can't even say those 2 words back to back. And there should be hopefully 15 custom dimensions that you hand coded in there.
Yeah, there's none.
Okay. That would be why. So what this, as I said, the Circ Manager kind of dumps all of this data to Google, and we have to code into Google Analytics the kind of the keys to understand how to parse the data. So that's where this comes from.
Okay.
So that could be why you don't see anything, but there could be a myriad other reasons, as we found with helping libraries with this, that it wouldn't be working. And we should have backup stats on our end too. So I'll look to see if we can send you those details as a backup.
Okay. Do you still want me to send you the first screenshot?
Yes, please.
All right.
Good too, because I want to make sure we can get yours working. And then Katie, if you could drop your email into the chat, Katie, we'll make sure that we get you those instructions as well. And then I see Katie had another question. If a hold is fulfilled by Overdrive, but they open to read in Simply E, it doesn't inflate stats, right? It only does the one checkout. That is, I'm trying to think of making sure I answer this correctly. It will appear in the Google Analytics as a Simply E checkout. Well, actually, I think it'll probably show as a Simply E fulfillment if it was checked out originally in Libby. I can't speak to whether or how it appears in Overdrive. Honestly, Overdrive's a black box to me in terms of the statistics that it captures and how detailed or not they are. It shouldn't be counted twice because the way in which Simply E is displaying Overdrive content is using the Overdrive API as the Libby app is. So from that perspective, Overdrive just thinks it's just another app checking out content. So it shouldn't be double counted. But because I haven't seen the Overdrive interface, I can't with full confidence say that that is accurate, but it shouldn't.
Carissa, do you want me to send this to the simplye@lyrasis.zendesk, that one?
Yes, that's the right email, right, Tara? I'm trying to on the spot. Yes, and then Tara and
I'm
I.
double checking. I'm double checking.
Yeah.
Yeah, simplye@lyrasis.zendesk.com.
All right, I just want to make sure I had the right one because I know I
Okay.
changed at some point.
Yes,
It did.
true.
Just stuck it in the chat too. Katie, that is our tech support email address. I mean, it's Tara. Who am I kidding? It's me and Tara.
You can email us
but
there.
it's the way that we can share versus having to share each other's inboxes. So we'll reach out, Katie, to you as well through that and send along the Google Analytics instructions.
All right. All right, so I sent that off. So whenever you get a chance to look at it, let me know what I did wrong.
You bet. Nothing wrong. It's a complicated setup, believe me, not ideal. So that's why we're ultimately going to be moving away from it and making it hopefully one-stop shopping in the administrative backend for you.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to ask Carissa about a solution if Lisa has lost her stats, say, for the last few months. There is the possibility of downloading the CSV in the dashboard in the Circ Manager,
Yes.
and then following the instructions that Tara came up with to parse out that information. So that's another option.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing every month. I was just looking how a way to get that extra info about whether it's an ebook or an audiobook. But I do have just the general numbers for the last few months. So thank you.
Good.
Those instructions were very helpful.
Great. Okay, that's good. I was trying. A lot of people have started asking, and I thought, gosh, we just should have like a guide that's hopefully pretty straightforward to use.
Oh, that was perfect. It was very easy to follow, and
Good.
that's what I've been doing. All right. Well, thank you very much for answering those questions. And
Yeah, thanks for stopping in.
all right, off to lunch. Have a
Nice.
nice day, everyone.
You
Thanks
too.
for coming by, Lisa. Take care.
You too.
In terms of Katie's question, when I think about if someone checks out an item in Simply E and it's from Overdrive,
Mhm.
so it'll show there as a checkout.
Yep.
In the circulation manager, not the distributor necessarily,
Mhm.
but it will also show as a checkout in overdrive, I would suspect.
Correct.
So that's where that double counting might occur. And that's where there has to be sort of an adding or subtracting of numbers,
Hmm.
subtracting in this case.
Right. I guess overdrive will have all of the activity on all from your account regardless of where it comes from. So it
Right.
won't like count it twice, but if you add your Simply E numbers to your overdrive numbers, then you're double counting, to your point.
Mhm. And I think that's a point of confusion for a lot of people. And that's always the challenge of collecting statistics that are
Right.
similar or the same from multiple sources. And then you sort of have to deconflict, okay, if I have this from here, I have to deduct it from here.
Mhm.
So I think I've recommended to people that if you have access to the overdrive numbers, then use those numbers, from your own overdrive account, and don't use the Simply E numbers at all. And then just pull the numbers for the collections that you don't supply yourself, the DPLA exchange that the state library provides and so on. So that might be one way, but it is confusing for sure for people to try to navigate that process. And then all of a sudden you're looking at your numbers and you're thinking, one, they might be really good because I'm double counting. And then you cut them in half or take 25% out, whatever it is, depending on the collection. All of a sudden your numbers are dropping. But I mean, I know from being a public librarian and doing all the statistics when I was at New Haven Free Public Library, that challenge of making sure that your data is accurate, is important. Just because you have to report out those numbers, and again, the accuracy piece is so important. So I think people are going to be really thrilled as we move forward and start to have an interface that we can access. Um, that'll be a real positive.
Yeah, without question. I mean, I have no doubts that it certainly won't be perfect in the first iteration. I think the complexity, it's a good complexity, but the complexity of having all of these shared collections across like the entire state and starting to
Mhm.
capture data presents a whole bunch of additional challenges of how to parse that data. But at least we're capturing it, and then we have a place to start, and we can move forward from there in the future in terms of the best slicing and dicing and then presentation of that data.
I think, one thing I've noticed about a lot of librarians that I've interacted with in the state is some folks are really sophisticated when it comes to statistics and analyzing them and ensuring their accuracy. So I bet we'll get feedback along the way too, um, so that the caveats can sort of be understood, if this, then this, because you really are looking at data, but you have to understand what the number means and make sure that you take what you need from that number and put it into your reports so that your numbers are totally accurate. So I'll definitely keep my ear to the ground as I hear from people as we move forward, because I'm sure we'll get some really constructive feedback that'll be helpful to everybody that's trying to figure out their stats.